everyone. This series of videos will begin our discussion of the law of supply. Now, as you did your reading through this portion of the book, I'm hoping some of the terminology you found sounded familiar. That's one of the good things about the way our authors put together this discussion. They use some terms to help keep things consistent. And again, as you read through this portion that deals with the law of supply, it's something that I believe you kind of know intuitively, that you kind of understand. We are, again, asking you to put together some more formal definitions, but it talks about things that you know. All right, so now we're telling you, we're going to talk about the supply side of the business, and what we're really saying is this. We're going to have you think of yourself as the business owner. Think of yourself as the person who's managing a particular business and how you might react to changes in price. You found that very big, long, formal definition for the law of supply. In a nutshell, it tells us this. When the price of something goes up, quantity supplied will rise, everything else held constant. When the price of something falls, quantity supplied will drop, everything else held constant. If you are a business owner and you are able to get higher and higher and higher prices for the hats that you have for sale, you're going to put more hats out there. It makes you more money. If you are a person who has a restaurant and people are paying you more and more and more for the meals that you're serving, you're going to make more meals available. You make more money. So that basic tenet, I think we kind of get. Now, mirroring some of what we did earlier, how do we know how business owners will react to these different prices? Well, very simply, we can survey them. And again, our authors took numbers that were similar to what you see here. I'm going to kind of stick with my example of soda sales and try to keep that consistent. So we might go to a store owner and say, hey, listen, at $1, how many 12 packs of Coke would you put out on the shelf? And they would say 10. At $2, how many would you put out there? 20. And so forth. We could take their responses, put them together in that nice organizational tool we call the supply schedule, and from there we could then construct our supply curve, which is just the graph of the supply schedule. So what I've done then is taken those price and corresponding quantity supplied figures, put those points on a piece of graph paper, and once we connect the dots, we've got a supply curve. Supply curves, now you can see they look a little bit different than the demand curves. Supply curves are those upward sloping curves. And this is because there is a very positive, or the other term you found in your reading was direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. If price goes up, quantity supplied goes up. If price goes down, quantity supplied goes down. Those two variables are moving in the same direction. They're either getting bigger together or they're getting smaller together. Now, in terms of the graphing that you're going to do, again, you saw our authors trying to keep things consistent with the first graphing examples they did earlier in our textbook. And so as you looked at the changes that dealt with the law of supply, you saw several different arrows moving along here to demonstrate the changes. I will do very similar to what I had done with the law of demand, and I'm going to use just one arrow to show in picture form what happens when something related to the law of supply changes. So here's the deal. Law of supply deals with a very specific item. We'll look at the price and quantity supplied of that item. In other words, at a price of $5, how many 12 packs of soda will store owners make it available? Or at a price of $2, how many 12 packs of soda will store owners make available? So they pair a very specific price with a very specific quantity supplied figure. Now, again, similar terminology. When the price of an item changes, we see that as a movement along the supply curve. Once again, that's a good thing to keep in mind as you start working through those multiple choice questions. When the price of an item changes, or when quantity supplied of that particular item changes, we show it as a movement along the curve. In our example, if price goes from $1 up to $2, I can simply draw an arrow up along the curve showing that change. Or conversely, if we wanted to show price falling, if price went from, let's say, $5 a 12-pack down to $4 a 12-pack, again, one arrow designating that change will suffice. Now, in this case, we could talk about it in terms of quantity supplied. If quantity supplied rose from 10 to 20 12-packs a month, the arrow would designate that. If quantity supplied fell from 50 down to 40 units, we could show that again simply with an arrow. So that's the law of supply. Hopefully sounded very similar to the discussion you found related to the law of demand. The law of supply says, let's think of ourselves as business owners. If the price of something rises, quantity supplied is going to go up, everything else held constant. And if the price of something falls, quantity supplied will go down, everything else held constant. Now stay tuned, because following this discussion you're going to find a couple of videos related to the determinants of supply. I hope this helps get you started, and we'll talk to you real soon.